So Sia, she released a photo of herself, but not just any photo, okay? This was a nude photo of her that was taken from behind because some sort of agency or some person was trying to sell this picture to her fans, and they said, if you make the purchase, this photo will be unblurred, and you will receive an additional 14 images. There you can see it right there. So Sia clapping back in her tweet, she says, someone is apparently trying to sell naked photos of me to my fans. So she beat him to the punch. She said, save your money, here it is for free. Every day is Christmas.
That's a great tweet.
So good job, Sia. I mean, there have been so many celebrities, I feel like mostly female, unfortunately, that have fallen prey to this. I mean, you take some sexy pictures for your spouse and somehow through the interwebs, it winds up getting into the wrong hands, and it's just unfortunate. There was that time that we saw Orlando Bloom's eggplant on a paddleboard.
And Justin Bieber as well.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Tiger
so
Woods?
men have fallen victim to this as well.
Yeah. You gotta do some Googling.
Yeah, should I now?
Yeah.
Or don't, because it is a violation of their privacy, but.
Thank you. Driving the point home here.
Sorry.
Is this how to handle something like this, Grace?
I think, my feeling when I heard about this story was, if this is the sick, twisted world that we're gonna be living in, where people are just selling naked images of people who did not want that and who are just having a moment in their own privacy online to make a profit, then yeah, I guess this is the way to deal with it, in the sense of just owning it, making sure that these assholes do not get a penny of your fans' money. But fans is, I think actually Sia was being very generous when she said, sell naked photos of me to my fans. I think real Sia fans, and this is something that I saw on Twitter as well, would have no interest in purchasing these photos that she, that violated her privacy online. So fans is a generous word, but I think that for Sia to make sure that these people don't get a penny from anyone who would want to see these photos, good for her. This is the way to handle it. However, it is so unfortunate that there has to be some sort of a protocol in this day and age on how to handle it when your nudes get leaked online. Like that's really messed up.
I mean, one of the saddest parts about this whole story is that whereas 99.99999% of celebrities like love the camera and love, getting their picture taken and like being out in public, whatever. Sia is like the glitch in the matrix in which she's like the only one who really is kind of she recoils from the camera. She famously like covers her face. She doesn't like to be her picture to be taken of her.
Yeah.
So the fact that it happened to her of all people, I mean, I'm guessing she's probably going through a pretty hard time. So the fact that she did this is incredibly courageous, just in a way to sort of take back her agency and control. But yeah, I do feel really bad for her because it's got to be brutal. I can't even imagine.
Oh yeah, and I mean this happened to Jennifer Lawrence, I think, and it's such a violation when and the different thing is though with this looks like it was some sort of paparazzi photo, kind of like the ones that were taken of Brad Pitt and Justin Bieber, where they're just in their element, they're nude for whatever reason, and then someone violates their privacy by sneaking a camera or drone over the fence. So yeah, but it just in any instance, like, can you just not be a terrible person and share nude photos when people, like, without someone's permission? Can we just not do that? Is that so hard?
Is this gonna go way faster now? Because she did it though too, because look, like you said, we could list, if we have to look it up to list, I think it was actually the cloud violation that got Jennifer Lawrence and many other celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Which was even worse.
It's even worse.
Yeah, because at least there's always the argument of stop taking these pictures. How could you send that over the internet webs and somebody's gonna intercept it? Because then that's being irresponsible, knowing people are gonna look for your ass. So literally. So at least in this aspect, it looked like someone had taken a paparazzi photo of her like at a beach or something somewhere. Who knows? And so they go by so fast that by Friday, no one's gonna remember, not remember, but no one's gonna be talking about it anymore. So at least she got the tension out of the way. She's gonna have Tuesday of everybody talking about this, and then by Wednesday they're gonna go, oh, I totally forgot about that picture. And it's the best way to do
And
it. It sucks that it has to be that's the best way to do it.
I just feel like we should just have a PSA for people that are looking for these naked pictures online. You guys know there's porn, right? There are many,
So much.
many websites, millions of people who have said
anything
that
you want.
it's okay to take photos of me naked, that want you to click on that, a lot of times for free. So why not just do that and leave people in the decency of their own privacy?
That's what they want.
I have this theory
They want pictures of people that didn't want them to see.
Yeah, I have this theory that in about 20 years, basically we'll have seen every single public person naked at some point. So there's gonna be like an inflection point when every single public person.
We're gonna just start doing the show naked
in
20 years.
So at some point we're gonna elect a president who we will have seen naked, because there just won't be able to find candidates who don't have some sort of naked picture floating around some cloud or some network somewhere, and then they will get hacked and they will be made public, and they just won't be able to find anyone because everyone has done it.
I shouldn't laugh because this is, I don't disagree with you, and I think this is a terrifying idea. It's just the world that we live in, and I think that with with the Russian interference in the election, you're seeing how social media is just really sort of gotten out of control, and we're in this new time. It's almost like the wild, wild west, and we've got these new ways of distributing and receiving information. So I wonder, and I'm gonna pose this question to you guys, is it time for some sort of regulation when it comes to these nude photos that are a violation of someone's privacy or rights or freedom, or is that overreaching?
I think that there should be a lot more regulation over social media monopolies in general. That they're like a company like Facebook, or if you think about how much power they have throughout the whole world, the fact that they're so opaque and outside of sort of the political process is a huge worry. I'm worried about criminalizing this kind of thing because, especially in our country, whenever we criminalize something, we just ramp up the carceral state, which is already out of control, and the burden will undoubtedly fall on minorities and the poor. Again, rich people won't get in trouble for this kind of thing. The poor and minorities will. So I don't think that the response should be a punitive one, but I do think that there should be more oversight and democratic control over these large, monopolistic social media platforms.
Yeah, I definitely echo what I'm hearing from you. And Jennifer Lawrence went so far as to say when her photos got leaked that she felt it was a sex crime. So I do think that there needs to
agree.
Yeah, I do feel that there needs to be stronger boundaries and regulations to make sure that we shouldn't have to live in this day and age where it's just sort of par for the course that anyone's we're talking about a celebrity right now, but anyone could access someone's compromising or intimate photos and just leak them online or sell them or blackmail you. It's not right. It's just not. So there should be some more over regulation and oversight, and I think that there is a way to do that is comprehensive and also that isn't necessarily overly criminalizing a non-violent offense, but that is something that is still very criminal in nature and predatory in nature. I don't think that we should just settle for this is the world we live in. It is right now, but let's aim to do better.
Well, the other thing that we could do is have more resources to protect ourselves, more information. Right now, people are just zipping around the naked pictures like the interwebs like it was nothing. There can be ways to do it if you're so inclined to do it in a more secure fashion than is currently. So I think also some form of protection that you can sort of take is probably a good idea.